Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Minefield. That's Keith,
And that's Gary.
and we're here to talk about some nerd stuff,
Happy
maybe?
news. Happy news today.
Yeah, here we are. We're in the second month of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and we have, since our last episode, a lot of shit has been happening. And it's come to a point, it's like, we kind of sit back and we're like, well, because I just moved into the new place and trying to get comfortable. And Keith got his new camera and he's trying to familiarize himself. So we've been kind of slow getting up here, but a lot of stuff has happened. And so one of the things we definitely wanted to talk about right now is the rumors surrounding one of our favorite directors, Sam Raimi,
Mm-hmm.
whom, because of who I work with, I have, what is that called? 2 degrees of separation because I work with some of the people that he works with. And so I feel like it means nothing. But it is exciting news because first, Mikey Sutton, who both Keith and I subscribe to, as well as pretty much the entire Fandom Menace gang on YouTube, are talking about how the MCU are talking with Sam Raimi, and they're already treating it like this is a done deal. And of course, it's not a done deal until you get a press release, right?
Yeah, until Kevin Feige says, "Hey, guess what? This is what's going down."
That's right.
It still
So
counts as a rumor. But again, this is all because of Mikey Sutton because he was the first one to come out with this, and he's definitely the man when it comes to this stuff. And I think we put a lot of trust in what he said because he's pretty consistent with how accurate
he's
he's been.
he's very accurate, and as far as I'm concerned, I think he is one of the best scoop artists that I've ever been associated with. I
Oh,
like the
heck
guy.
yes, heck
Um,
yes.
so thanks again, Mikey Sutton. But basically, what we've got here is a lot of potential, and
Yeah,
one of the things that a lot of people are talking about right now is that we could be seeing Sam Raimi's Spider Verse being reintroduced into the MCU in the Doctor Strange 2, where if he does take on the role of directing this film, and we're dealing with the multiverse, we could see that introduction back into the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And
yeah.
I'm like,
There is a
hell yeah!
distinct possibility, but
And I would
right
love
now
that.
the most important part of all of this is the fact that Sam Raimi is in talks with the MCU to direct or take over for Scott Derrickson to direct Doctor Strange
Which,
in the
as we've
Multiverse of
heard,
Madness.
that his leaving was over the fact that he wanted to make his movie, and they wanted him to make their movie,
Yeah,
and
and
they
they
just
need
reached an
somebody good.
impasse.
They need somebody good. They need somebody that has experience. They need somebody that has experience doing horror, but someone who can be fast because they're needing to get this movie made soon. Because now, because of all of the shows on Disney Plus that key off of this movie, you cannot. I mean, this is one of the hard things about what Kevin Feige is doing with Marvel right now. You need to now, you can no longer delay, you can no longer have problems. Everything needs to be worked out, and all these films need to be started and finished on time, or else it's just going to mess everything up. This is a hard trick, but it's
Not
still a
to mention that
doable trick.
Feige also wants team players,
Yes.
and when he runs into that even a little bit of conflict,
Yeah.
he'd rather just find somebody else.
Yeah. Now, Raimi, in this sense, he and Kevin Feige are basically the same. They're two guys who grew up reading comics. They have a background in comic books. So when I first heard this, my mind was all like, yes. And then I was like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
it, why haven't they been working together up to this point? I mean, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it, and and
Well, because
Raimi.
you know, Raimi is such a Marvel fan. You
Yes.
know, he went into
Well,
Spider-Man because he was a fan.
yeah, and not just a fan, a very specific type of Spider-Man fan. His movies were aimed at a certain period within Spider-Man, and he's made it known that Stan Lee wasn't the only person who he took cues from in making that Spider-Man. You know, but uh, I like the fact that Raimi brings with him his background in horror. And I'm pretty sure that there'll be some horror elements and a little bit of comedy. Uh, I'm hoping that this will also allow him to bring in other people like Bruce Campbell, and thus Bruce Campbell's debut in the MCU, which is cool and about time.
And I want to
There's
talk about something real quick.
yeah.
Because I don't brag about the stuff that I do. I really don't. And I need to stop and point out that I am working on 2 Bruce Campbell movies right now, doing artwork. I'm doing the re-release and cleanup for Synapse Films of the Running Time,
Yeah.
starring Bruce Campbell from 1997. It was
Yeah.
also the first film I ever worked on was with him and Josh Becker, because I became friends with those two. He introduced me to Josh, and Josh became one of my best friends. And and then they're making a documentary about what's his name, letterer, the guy that made Bubba Hotep.
Oh,
Joe.
Don.
No, Joe.
Oh,
The guy that
Joe.
wrote it.
Yeah.
They're making a documentary about him, and I am doing some art for that. I talked to the film producer, the executive producer, and they fell in love with my artwork, so they asked me to do some artwork for that movie. It's going to be in the movie and possibly even on the Blu-ray DVD release, which would be really cool. So I thought it'd be cool to share that because I don't really talk too much about what I do.
Yeah. Well, you're always involved in something really kind of cool, but that's just what makes you who you are. So.
Yeah, because I rock and roll. Oh, what else annoys my girlfriend's kids? Oh, that's the bomb diggity, yo. All right, moving on to the second part of the episode, we were going to talk about what else were we going to talk about? It wasn't Star Trek, was it? Was it Star Trek?
Yeah. It was Star Trek, mainly.
I guess before we do, I want to point out a couple of things. One, Doctor Who has the lowest ratings right now that it has had in over 30 years. They are now into the 3.57 million viewers. That nobody is watching, and they're leaving in droves because Chibnall is killing the franchise. He's killing
it. Look, for all of his personal views, the number one thing killing Doctor Who right now is just bad writing.
Yeah.
Bad writing.
And hiring people who don't know how to write science fiction. And then, of course, the next thing. Oh, what? What?
Well, I was just going to say this most recent episode of Doctor Who, you have 2 characters at the beginning of the episode.
Are you watching it?
Yeah, I'm watching it. Because I want to look.
I only watched one episode, and I'm like, oh, this is awful.
There are other people who are sacrificing themselves watching Picard and Discovery and all this other. The least I can do is watch Doctor Who.
Okay, all right.
When you have 2 characters that you're writing, and they come upon a place that for one of them they had been before and was supposed to be this great paradise, and it turns out it's a complete trash dump. There's trash all over the place, and one character says to the other, literally looks at the other character and says, "Okay, but I'm not sleeping here tonight." And you cut to the next scene. In the tent, one of them wakes up They open up the tent, and they've set up a tent amongst all this trash. And it's like, what are you doing? What person would actually stay there? Because this place is a dump. And what kind of sense
It's
does it make?
insane. It's just
It, it,
insane,
it,
dude.
it is insane. And I have to at least say this. There are times that it seems like Chibnall is in a race to the bottom, literally with Alex Kurtzman, to see how far, how far they can go with
it's
just doing
it's
dumb
the
stuff.
it's the three dumpster fires of
Yeah.
Hollywood. Kathleen Kennedy, Alex Kurtzman, and Chris Chibnall. But even though technically Chibnall's with the British, but anyway, I wanted to just point out that it's getting worse and worse. It's not going to get better, and I tell people, oh, but they greenlit another season with her. I went, that's a lie. They said that to promote this season, hoping that people go, oh, they greenlit it. It must be really good. It's not good, and she will not be back next season. In fact, if there is another season, I'll be shocked. I think they've killed the franchise. I really do. Now, Indiana Jones 5, just want to point out that, yes, Harrison Ford is back. This is not a reboot. Kathleen Kennedy swears this, and I don't believe her on anything, but I do believe that Harrison Ford would have piped up and said something like, that's not true.
Well,
that's not true.
Plus, this is working with her husband Frank Marshall, I think, on this. I think Steven,
and I love Frank Marshall.
Yeah. I think Steven will be working on this. So I think that this entire thing is not going to be run like what you've seen before with Star Wars. Because with Steven Spielberg, I can just picture it in my head. The moment Kathleen Kennedy tries to tell Steven what to do, he's out.
He's going to go, hey, just go get me my coffee.
He's just done. And he's not going to argue. He's not going to say anything. He'll just be done. And then Bob Iger will call Kathleen's cell phone and just basically it's like, hey, this ain't working. This ain't working at all. So you got to
go. Just stay away from the set. So let's move on to the other half of the episode, which is really Star Trek. Because now I am watching Picard. I've got tons of problems with the show. I think that the only thing that makes it watchable is Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
He lends that gravitas to the character. And of course, he relies heavily, as does Kurtzman here, on how beloved Picard is to a lot of us Trekkers.
And that's what's really holding all of this together is your nostalgia, all the member berries, as neurotic like to call
member berries, exactly. South Park. We're fans of South Park, but really the most important thing here is that we're seeing a lot of behind the scenes scuffling going on, and I believe that this is leading up to the inevitable change of management that we're already seeing at CBS, because Sherry Redstone has already brought in 2 new people, and they've got their eyes on the Star Trek franchise. The problem is, and Midnight's Edge did a fantastic job today with that video they released. God, I love them. They do such a good job. And how long did you talk to Anders?
Yeah, not that long, but I let me at least just put it out there. You guys rock. The job, if you are not watching Midnight's Edge, everybody watching us, as soon as you're done watching us, you need to check out Midnight's Edge. Those guys are phenomenal.
Agree. I mean, I'm friends with John over at Entertainment Hacker, and I know we all watch Doomcock. We all watch Gary over at Nerdrotic.
Yeah.
Not to mention our close friendship with Susan Layton, who's rocking it right now. She's doing so much. Her career's going through she wanted transition. She wanted to change, and she's moving to get it, and I'm so proud of her. But We also watch John Talks, and we watch Geeks and Gamers, and but I'm telling you, consistently, nobody nails it like Midnight's Edge. Doomcock's great at scoops, but he's a sarcastic prick, and I love that. You know, I'm a prick. I like sarcastic pricks. Whereas the guys at Midnight Edge are not so much. And of course, you know, the other gentleman that has the cartoon character, for some reason I'm drawing a blank on his name, that we watch as well.
JP. Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
not so much Red Letter Media. I mean, my God, we always watch Red Letter Media. And but the thing is I don't think anybody consistently nails it every single time like Midnight's Edge. And Midnight's Edge really, go into it. Talk about what they talked about today.
You know, Midnight's Edge was able to break down the situation and rumor right now about the possibility of CBS selling Star Trek in whole to
NBC.
Universal and NBC, and thus to Seth MacFarlane.
And there's a good explanation as to why. And that's something that nobody else is really getting into. And let's analyze that.
Midnight's Edge talked about the fact that there is a whole host of poison pills loaded into various contracts that have been signed concerning Star Trek that is making it next to impossible for any major changes to be occurring concerning Star Trek on television. It basically scuttles any new version of Trek that you would have at Paramount. So any future films have to be in some way related to the alternate license that that Secret Hideout / Bad Robot have been operating under. So even if it is just a movie, no one can come along and make something different until basically this has become poison in the body. They need to basically get rid of all of the alternate license stuff. So you can't have any movies, you can't have any television, you can't have any animated
shows. And
none of that
Midnight Edge pointed out was that it's so bad that at this point they would have to shut everything down and leave it off for years before CBS could actively do something. And that is what is leading to this rumor that Sherry Redstone
it's one of the
considering...
reasons that Noah Hawley's Star Trek couldn't move forward, because his idea eventually
was too Trekky.
To make a Star Trek movie, but not use Chris Pine or any of the Kelvin actors, but to have a whole new cast.
Well, he wanted to go back to canon and get away from Prime Kelvin.
He wanted to make it in actual Star Trek continuity, meaning the 1966 to 2005 version of Star Trek. So it's the Gene Roddenberry and Rick Berman and all of that stuff, basically from original 66 Trek all the way to Enterprise. That is the actual thing. And that everything after that, that's all Bad Robot, Secret Hideout stuff. And basically they try to get around that, and he couldn't do it. Paramount would not let him do it.
Remember when you jumped into that argument with me on my Facebook page where that guy was trying to say, Prime is canon? It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's my buddy Eric. And it's like, no, man. It's like, if it has any plot points from the J.J. Abrams universe, it is not canon.
Legally,
so the whole Romulan thing, the Romulus blowing up and all that stuff, is not canon.
Everything you saw in the 2009 Star Trek is all part of its own thing. And as I tried to explain to people, Leonard Nimoy, who is in the 2009 Trek, is not playing the Spock that we all knew. He is playing
the Spock we knew. It's a different version that he's playing.
He is playing the older version of the Spock that we are introduced to on Star Trek Discovery. That's the Spock he's playing.
Yep. And so because Noah, I think he was on the right track, but the problem is with all these contracts, it's impossible. And so the rumors, and this is what lends so much weight to the
Mm-hmm.
Seth MacFarlane NBC Universal deal,
Yeah.
is the fact that Sherry Redstone wants Star Trek back. And I think the only way she's going to get it back is to license it out to NBC Universal with Seth in charge. And of course,
But
you and I
that's
talked
that.
about this.
But let me stop you there. That isn't really what they're talking about. NBC wants everything. They want the rights. They're not talking about licensing. They want to own it. They want to take it. And the thing is,
I don't
Sherry
think that'll
Redstone.
happen.
I think Sherry Redstone is one of the few people that are thinking that no, I don't see that happening. But I'll tell you the reason why that there is a distinct possibility that it could happen. The amount of money and time it would take to correct everything that has gone wrong for CBS to do it would be long and would be so long and take so long. Literally, I'll tell you this much. Patrick Stewart isn't going to last that much longer to be able to make any movies nor any other television things. A good portion of the cast of a lot of these shows will probably pass away before CBS is able to do anything. I should say before Viacom CBS can do anything with it. So
and Midnight's Edge pointed out that if Seth took it over,
yes,
he could have something out as early as 2022.
Well, he would take over in 2022. The thing is that money would cut through all that. If you just paid everybody off, paid the ransom, got it back, NBC would be able to take over, give it to Seth, and Seth would be able to, and Seth, according to the rumor, has plans. Look, he knows the entire Next Generation cast. He has an in with all of them. And I'm telling a lot of you,
Enterprise.
Discovery fans need to understand something. While Patrick Stewart is doing this right now for CBS All Access, nobody basically was dealing with Patrick Stewart for a long time. Paramount wouldn't really seriously consider any of his ideas for movies. The only person who kept Patrick Stewart employed was Seth MacFarlane. He has a deep and really close relationship with him, as does pretty much almost everybody else in the Next Generation cast. They love the guy. He is a Star Trek fan.
He's lovable.
So for anyone that thinks, well, Kirkman and blah blah blah, nuh-uh. It's more of a money relationship. It's a deal. It's something going on. If Star Trek is to survive, Seth, if you are a fan of Trek, Seth's ideas sound phenomenal. Trying to he would have something together. I'm pretty sure. I don't think you and I have had a chance to talk about this, but Patrick Stewart did pitch a movie idea.
Oh yeah, you and I talked
Paramount
about it.
turned down.
Yeah,
and that movie idea is something that I think Seth could actually do. Unlike this with Picard, because Picard was not the idea of Patrick Stewart. Picard was originally part of the Countdown comic that Kurtzman and Orsi did for the preview comic before the 2009 Trek, that then was incorporated into an idea had by the original creator of Discovery, Brian Fuller, who had an idea that he called Data and Picard, that was then re-co-opted by Alex Kurtzman later on and turned into what we see now. Very bad.
Which I found really funny that he completely ignores some of the plot points that he put into that comic book.
Yeah.
In his show,
comic idea that he came up with,
he just threw it out.
Ignores a lot of those.
That's how big of an idiot Alex Kurtzman is. I really think he's a moron. He really is.
And it is moronic. A lot of it is moronic. But Seth MacFarlane's ideas would allow him to basically put out a Star Trek film, but also he talked about getting a hold of Scott Bakula and bringing him in for a limited series. That is a really cool idea because, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of Enterprise, but I will say this. The show really started getting good around the time that they were ending the show because it seemed like writers were really getting into it. And it's that whole period that they kind of hinted at in the immediate aftermath of Enterprise that is the most interesting part of the show. You know, again, for me, The Expanse is what Enterprise should have been. What they could do with a Scott Bakula centric uh, limited series is basically kind of do what they're doing with Picard, except not trying to do the whole, Logan thing and actually just checking out the very, very beginning of the Federation and how a lot of these planets were brought in. That's interesting. That should have been a show. But
Oh yeah, and
unfortunately,
it's let's not even get into how Picard seems to confuse what the Federation is and what the Starfleet is.
Yeah.
It's like they are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Starfleet is just the Earth-based space fleet that works with the Federation of planets. But anyway, far be it from us to explain how Star Trek works to those experts over at Picard. So, so let's. It's time for us to do a few shout outs here. Anybody you want to shout out to, buddy?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out first and foremost to all the fans that continue to watch the show, and hopefully you're introducing our show to other people. I'd also like to shout out to basically to the guys from Midnight Edge. I can't talk about those guys enough. They just do a phenomenal job. And
yeah, I had a really good time talking to Anders the other day. He's a really good guy. A very enriching conversation he and I had. And of course, I want to give a shout out to my buddy John over at Entertainment Hacker. And then, of course, let's talk about SC Reviews. I don't know that dude's name, but he never says his name. I don't know, but he's funny. I think he's Australian, and he's so sarcastic, and I just think he's hilarious. And of course, to our personal favorite, the Burnett Network, Robert Burnett. And Gary
Robert
Beekler.
Meyer Burnett is awesome.
Yeah, Robert Meyer Burnett is the bomb diggity yo. And of course, Gary at Nerdrotic. Of course, Jeremy over at Geeks and Gamers, Doomcock, who I know he's a real human being. I forget what his real name is. I hardly ever see it. And then, of course, Ivan Ortega, who I'm glad to see back on YouTube. World Class Bullshitters is who I was trying to remember earlier.
And JP from Egotastic Fun Time, who is
my god, yeah, he's funny. Yeah, Hook, you need to set up a meeting so we can have him on the show.
Yeah,
you get a hold of that guy, get him on the show. It'll be great. And then, of course, the guys at Red Letter Media are freaking hilarious. I don't always agree with them, but I should say I don't agree with them 100% of the time, but I agree with them 90% of the time because they're pretty much on top of it. Anybody else, buddy?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for us this week. Maybe if more news pops up, we'll do something else. But until then, that's Keith.
That's Gary.
And we're out of here. Get off our lawn.
One last thing. Big shout out to everyone in Neosho, Missouri this weekend at ArtCon. You can go there and meet Corin Nemec, who is the actor from Parker Lewis Can't Lose, as well as Supernatural, Smallville, and of course Stargate SG-1. Phil Hester and Aaron Cutter and Jeremy Hahn 3 major comic book personalities that you can actually meet there, talk, have fun with, hang out with, and of course, JP from Egotastic Fun Time. And all of this is occurring again in Neosho, Missouri, which is not too far away from Joplin, Missouri, in Southwest Missouri. The admission is $5, and it is for ages 5 and under are free at the Carver Elementary School in Neosho, Missouri. So it's February 8th, and just go there and have a good time. Tell them Keith and Gerry sent you. You might even see us there. Who knows?
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Remember, you can find us at Pop Culture Minefield on both Facebook and Instagram. Thank you again.